I'm Jami-SummeyRice, former WISE intern. WISE means Washington Internships for Students of Engineering, and AIChE has been a sponsoring society since 1981. The WISE program allows engineering students to come to Washington, D.C. and interface with different types of policymakers to understand the importance of science, technology, and engineering in our everyday policy making and governmental processes. I'm with this year's 2017 WISE interns. I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell us where they're from.
Hi, my name is Christina. I am majoring in chemical engineering. I'm originally from California, and now I go to school at Yale, finishing up my last semester.
Hi, I'm Ishan Dev. I'm a senior at the University of California, Berkeley, and I'm studying chemical and biomolecular engineering.
Okay, well, let's start with you, Christina. Why don't you tell us about your topic and why you chose it?
Yeah, definitely. So the summer before my internship, I took a course looking at microgrids and specifically in Japan, and so looking at how they can serve as a point of resiliency, especially in cases where communities face natural disasters. And given the 2017 hurricanes in Puerto Rico, I thought this was a very relevant topic and a topic that was up for discussion a lot, especially in the DC area. And so I looked into what the role of distributed energy, microgrids, and renewable energy can play for rebuilding and revitalizing Puerto Rico's energy infrastructure.
Excellent.
Great. Yeah, so my project was on democratizing synthetic biology. So back in Berkeley, I do research on synthetic biology. And so I was really interested in how do we get these tools of microbiology and engineering into the hands of everyday people so that they can conduct their own projects and contribute to the science. And so one big concern that I started to find was the biosecurity and biosafety concern of just everyday people kind of mess around with biology. And so my paper kind of tries to hash out the balance between democratizing the science and the security and the safety surrounding the issue.
After spending an entire summer studying a subject that you were already somewhat familiar with, did you have a change of heart or learn something new or change your opinion on anything important in your project?
So I'm also part of my school's energy studies program, and it's a very multidisciplinary program. So coming into the program, I definitely had a strong interest in looking at the intersection between technology and policy. And I think after working on the project did I realize how important it was for engineers and also people in technical fields to have a good background about the current policies that affect their work, because many times without that political support, without those policies in place, it is very difficult to get technologies and resources that we think are great implemented in places that need them the most. So I definitely have a stronger sense and a desire to work in this field after the program.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I think with my report, I started off looking more at some of the more biosecurity issues. And I wasn't really too concerned about how do we give these technologies to everyday people, but I started to learn about different community laboratories where everyday people can kind of go to learn about microbiology, almost like going to a Saturday art school to learn how to paint. You can learn how to do microbiology. So I think that was really cool, and I kind of shifted from being so concerned about who are the stakeholders with respect to biosecurity and got more interested in who are the stakeholders in general and what can they benefit from having this technology. So that's how I kind of pivoted. And it's really, I'm interested in synthetic biology for my career into the future, and so I got to see a different perspective of it, so it was great.
Very good. Can y'all tell us a little bit about your mentors? I know most WISE candidates are assigned a mentor to help with their project. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship and how it helped you?
Definitely. So my mentor was Dale Kearns, and a lot of our relationship, given that he wasn't in the DC area, even though he wasn't there, he was definitely very responsive and receptive to talking to me before I, let's say, scheduled interviews with people in the Washington, D.C. area. We would hash out what questions might be the most effective ones to ask, who I could reach out to, what kind of contacts I can reach out to, and just checking in with him daily to get his advice, especially because he works at the intersection between energy, water, and food, that nexus, and that's definitely very relevant to the research that I was doing, given that electricity production is so intertwined with water use and food availability. And so having his background and his experience was definitely really, really helpful for the project.
Awesome.
Yeah, my mentor was Professor Joshua Leonard from Northwestern
I
University.
know Josh.
Yeah, he was a WISE intern, I think, in 1998,
Mhm.
so it was really interesting. Yeah, he's a professor of chemical engineering there, and he does a lot of work in synthetic biology, so he was already very knowledgeable about the subject. Great person to talk to kind of like hash out my ideas and really center my questions around a certain topic and make sure they're not too kind of out there. He also helped me kind of decide on what I would be focusing on. So I was not only interested in democratized synthetic biology, I was interested in pharmaceutical production and a few other things. So he was really helpful there. And yeah, he's just a great guy to talk to.
So, what were your favorite things to do outside of your research project? You lived in DC for several weeks. How did you like to spend your time?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my favorite parts about living in Foggy Bottom was the fact that we were within walking distance to all of the monuments. So I got to go running in the morning or in the afternoon and just walk by these amazing monuments and the river, and it was just very beautiful. And I definitely felt like a local running by all the tourists. So it was really, really nice. And we got to go to a lot of really cool events, like listening in on a congressional hearing that might be relevant to your topic or might not be. Going to a Supreme Court hearing, there were many, many fun events.
Yeah, definitely the morning runs on near the Washington Monument were great. I really enjoyed just spending time with the other interns.
Mhm.
Very like-minded people, or even if we have differences of opinion, there's an ability to have a conversation, which is really nice and powerful. And yeah, I really enjoyed visiting NASA headquarters. It was really cool, and we actually got to see the astronauts running around on the International Space Station
That's
through the cameras and everything. It was pretty fun.
So, you mentioned the other interns. Can you tell us about living with all these other engineers?
Yeah, definitely. So there were 3 women in the program, and so we all lived in the same suite, along with someone else who was in Washington D.C. for another internship. So it was really nice to all live on one floor, but also in a building where we get to interact with a lot of other interns from in different programs. Like there's one group from the Black Caucus, and they were interning there. Our suite mate was interning for a senator. So it was really nice to be able to see each other every day, but also to interact with other students as well.
It's great. I really enjoyed the time with my fellow interns, and some of them became lifelong friends, and we're still in communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, after everything is said and done, I'm very curious, did this experience change you, or change your outlook, or change your future plans in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that in my career at some point I want to conduct research in a laboratory, but I want that research to also help inform policy decisions on issues of climate and health. And I'd love to be an authority to kind of come before Congress to, inform them of these things. And yeah, I definitely see policy in my future working in DC.
Definitely as well. Because of this experience, I think it definitely has confirmed my interest in working in policy, specifically in energy policy and environmental policy. I think a lot of policies now are so data driven, and it's important to have that data to back up your conclusions, and having that technical ability to analyze data effectively and communicate that effectively to people is super important. And so I definitely see it as something I want to do in the future.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you saw this as a positive experience, and I hope you spread the word about the internship
Definitely.
and hopefully come back and get involved as I have to help future interns.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
you.
you.